Welcome to this VCU Career Services video. I'm Anna Umbreit, one of the career advisors on the team. And today's topic is demystifying cover letters. Perhaps you found yourself in this situation. You find a job or internship that you're excited to apply for, you've got your resume ready to go, and then you go to apply to the opportunity and you find out that you also need a cover letter. And that can cause a lot of confusion because what is a cover letter? How long is it supposed to be? What does the employer even want to hear in the cover letter? How is it different than the resume? Maybe you've never even heard of a cover letter before, and so just that term itself is confusing. So here's a quick little history lesson for you. People used to apply for jobs via mail. They literally would print out their resume and a cover letter. They put them in an envelope, take it to the post office, and mail it off to an employer they were interested in. When that was happening, a cover letter was essential for an employer to know which position the person was applying to. The letter also served to introduce the candidate to the employer and highlighted key information from the resume, so it served two purposes. But the main one was this idea of telling the employer which job the person wanted to be considered for. So obviously now things are quite different. People apply for jobs online, and usually they're applying directly to a specific job, so it's no longer a mystery as to what someone wants to be considered for. However, we do still recommend using a cover letter. In this instance, it's going to be emailed or uploaded along with your resume, and it still serves that purpose of introducing you to the employer and highlighting key information from your resume. So it's no longer the main purpose for it is no longer to tell the employer which position you want to be considered for. Rather, it's talking about why you're a great fit for that opportunity that you're applying to. So let's look more closely at the differences between a resume versus a cover letter. With the resume, and we do have a separate video about resumes if you haven't watched that already, the resume is a curated, detailed outline of your experiences relevant to an industry or field. It showcases your past experiences to indicate your potential for an industry or field, and it's focused on key skills and experiences that are relevant to that industry or field. It's not tailored to a job or to a specific employer. Your cover letter is a narrative introduction to your professional identity, so it's introducing you to the employer. It highlights a few experiences from your resume and elaborates on them, telling more of the story about something that you did within a specific position. It responds to the qualifications listed in the job posting, and it's tailored to a particular job and a specific employer. So while the resume you may be able to use over and over and over again if you're applying to similar opportunities without changing much of anything on the resume, your cover letter, chances are you're going to have to change it at least a little bit every time you go to send it out because it needs to feel like it was written for a specific job and a specific employer. So let's break that down further. So think about the cover letter and resume as distinct documents, but they're complementary. So you may think about them as being like a salt and pepper shaker. The two go together even though they serve different purposes. When you're sending out the resume, you always want to make sure you have a cover letter, unless you're there to literally pitch yourself when you're handing your resume to somebody, which is not often the case. It's really helpful to include the cover letter so that you can explain why you're applying for a certain opportunity. So think about a cover letter as it is your introduction when you're not there to introduce yourself in person. So what goes into a cover letter? We have a guide for cover letters. It's on the VCU Career Services website, so careers.vcu.edu. If you hover over advising, you can scroll down and select cover letters, and there you'll find our guide. This is giving you a visual example of what the letter can look like. So there's some key sections here. Some of it is just strictly the formal formatting that is expected to see in the resume, in the cover letter. So you want your header, just the same thing as what's on the top of your resume, so they look visually identical. You're going to have a date line, so the date that you're sending the letter. You're going to have a block of information for the employer you're sending it to. Even though you're not mailing it anymore, we do still recommend including this because it's part of the formality of writing this letter. Then you're going to have your greeting line and your letter content, which typically is between 3 and 5 paragraphs long. So you can see this one's 4, so right there in the middle. And then finally, once you get through your content, at the bottom, you're going to have a signature line and signatures, which could include an optional digital signature, but definitely would be your typed signed name. So those are your key sections of the rest of the cover letter. Looking more closely at your letter content, those paragraphs that I mentioned, so somewhere between 3 and 5 paragraphs, you're going to have an introduction paragraph that's going to be fairly short. You'll have your body paragraphs, which are longer, and then your closing paragraph, which is short again. With each of these paragraphs, you're going to be answering a question or several questions. So with your introduction paragraph, the questions you're answering are, who are you and why are you contacting them? So your first sentence can be that you're writing to apply for whatever the position title is with whomever the employer is, and then where you saw that job opportunity. So perhaps you saw it on their website, or you saw it on Indeed, or Handshake, or a site like that. Next, you want to explain your credentials. So if you're currently in school, you could say, currently I'm studying communications at Virginia Commonwealth University, or whatever your major is at this point. And then you want to tease your experiences, and this is sometimes called your hook, because you want to pique their interest so they want to keep reading through the rest of your letter. So examples of a hook are, I'm seeking an internship that builds upon my previous experiences in game design. Previous experience is always interesting to an employer, so that could catch their attention where they're like, oh, tell me more. What are these experiences you have in game design? You can also sometimes use that hook to address a question that the employer might have when they're looking at your application. So like, let's say you're applying to opportunities up in New York City, but your resume says that you're in Richmond. You might address that in this particular section of your cover letter and say something like, in August 2020, I will be relocating to the New York City area, and I'm seeking an opportunity to bring my knowledge of book design to the design department at a publishing house. So we're still referencing previous experience. We've just added in this idea that the person's relocating up to New York City, regardless of whether this employer wants to interview them or not, which sometimes can help them be interested if you're an out-of-town candidate. All right, so we've established why we're contacting them and just some brief information about ourselves. Now we go more into detail. So part 1 of your body paragraphs is, why are you a great fit for this job? So you're using evidence from your resume, from your past experiences, and then telling me more of a story, telling the reader more of a story about what was it that you were doing in those different experiences. The goal is to connect the dots between what they're looking for, so those skills and experiences they mentioned in the job or internship posting, connect those dots between what they're asking for and where you've demonstrated your capacity for those skills and experiences. Consider elaborating on your resume content by telling a story about that experience. So dropping into a specific example or a specific project. So here I have an example of this. So it could be something like, my experience in developing and managing social media content comes from my internship with Richmond Magazine and my involvement with the campus radio station. So we're establishing that we're going to talk about 2 different experiences that are unrelated, but that relate to the job that we're applying to. As a marketing intern with Richmond Magazine, I assisted with their digital marketing efforts. One of the projects I worked on was the Around the World campaign, where readers photographed the magazine in various locations across the globe. To achieve this, I created unique graphics to promote the campaign on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I also live streamed the launch of this effort on Facebook and Instagram. So there we've got that story, and as I'm reading through that, you're probably picturing what this person was doing. And that's the goal of telling this anecdote, is for the recruiter or the employer to visualize what you were doing in this experience so they can see you've got the skills that they're asking for. Okay, so let's keep going. So for WVCW AM, I am responsible for managing all the campus radio station's social media accounts on a weekly basis. In 2017, I proposed that we incorporate a social media takeover with our various DJs. This led to a 15% increase in engagement with our followers. So again, another anecdote that talks about a specific project this person was involved in and gives a sense of what they had to do for that project and then also what they achieved. And quantifying your results whenever possible is always great to do in both the cover letter and the resume, because it shows the impact you had on an organization. So that's the first part of the body paragraphs. Part 2 of the body paragraphs is, why do you want to work for them? And how can you help them do the work they do? So be careful about not making this too self-interested. Of course you want a job or an internship. That's why you're applying. But telling them that is just telling them what's obvious, because otherwise you wouldn't be applying to this opportunity. So if you can instead show them that you've researched them and you understand the work that they're doing, and then explain why that's interesting to you and how you want to come help assist and contribute to that work. So what is it about their projects or their clients, their mission statement, or their industry that draws your interest? Because employers know that if you've got the skills, i.e. you can do the job, and then you also are very interested in what the job is, chances are you're going to be a great employee for them, because you're going to work hard and contribute to the organization. So that's why we want to show both pieces, that not only can you do this job or internship, but also that you care about it and you want to come help them do this work. And so talking about what resonates for you in your background, so here's an example. I'm particularly excited about this opportunity with Barefoot Books because of your focus on children's literature. As someone who has extensive experience in taking care of children as both a babysitter and a camp counselor, I am familiar with what children of various ages are excited by. I could bring this knowledge to your team and help shape future generations of book lovers. So we're talking about like what's meaningful about this work, and also how they have knowledge and expertise that they're bringing to this particular focus within the publishing world. So just one example of how you can draw a connection between the work they're doing and what kind of work you like to do, and show that you are a great fit for their opportunity. All right, so those body paragraphs are the hardest part. So now we get a break. The closing paragraph is nice and simple. It's just basically what is the next step you are requesting, and then adding a nicety in to finish out the letter. For many industries, it's going to be better to invite them to contact you rather than putting a more assertive statement such as, I will call you in 2 weeks to see if you have questions about my application. For other industries, like such as sales, where that is part of the job, kind of cold calling and persuading people to talk to you, it would be perfectly fine to say, I'll be in touch within a few weeks. But most of the time, we recommend defaulting to something like this, where you say, I would welcome an opportunity to discuss my qualifications with you further, i.e. you're basically asking for an interview. And then letting them know how they can reach you. So you can reach me at phone number or email. And then that nicety, thank them for their time, for their consideration, and you can add in something like, and I hope to hear from you soon. So just a few sentences for that last paragraph, because we want to save the majority of the space in the letter for those middle 2 sections. Okay, so we've now gotten through these 3 sections of the letter. So the letter content, the introduction paragraph, which is short, the body paragraphs, which are longer, and then your closing paragraph, which is short again. So that's basically your letter. Once you've got that letter ready to go, then you're going to want to think about adding that to Handshake. That way it's stored in the system so you can access it no matter where you are, as long as you've got an internet connection and a device to access it. What you'll want to do is first prepare your documents, save a completed draft for future edits, because you may come back to it and keep, 75 to 85% of the content, because you're applying to similar positions, but you need to edit it to change it for the next opportunity. So save it as an editable draft, so .doc or .docx or a Google Doc, and then create a separate PDF version to send to an employer. If you're using Google Docs, you can access this under File and then Download and select PDF document. If it's Microsoft Word or Pages, you can either save as or print to PDF. But anyway, any one of those is going to get you a PDF version of your documents that the formatting is preserved, which is important when you're sending files between different computers. You do have the option to save it either as a separate document so that you've got a cover letter document and then a resume document, or you can combine the 2 into one file. It all depends on the employer's process and how they want you to apply to a position. If they're giving you only one spot to upload something, you're going to want to combine the 2 documents into one, so that, which the easiest way literally is just to copy and paste one into the other, and then just make sure your formatting is still good, and then save it as a PDF. When you do that, save your cover letter first and then have your resume as page 2. So that's what you do if it's a one document format. Many times they will give you multiple places to upload a file, so you've got the option to select the resume file separate from the cover letter file. But just in case, I want you to know how you can still submit a cover letter even if the employer is asking for only one attachment. Once you're in Handshake, you can go over to the right-hand side, click on your profile bubble, select Documents. Here we can see I've got a resume uploaded, but I don't have a cover letter, so I'm going to click Add New Document. Here I can change the document name. I would add in a date, which I actually don't have an example of here, but I think a date or a company name could be really helpful. And then here you can see I added in the company name. I'm saving that in the system so that I've got it ready to go. It gives me a preview so I can make sure I picked the right one, which is very important. Make sure that you're not sending a cover letter to a company that has the wrong job title or the wrong company name on it. Those are important tips. And then I've got it, it's in the system, and I can go back to that job I wanted to apply to. I can attach my resume, I can attach my cover letter, and I can go ahead and submit for that job. All right, so if you want to learn more, feel free to stay in touch with us. We have other content on YouTube. You may want to check out our resume video as well as our career fairs or some of our other ones as well. And then you are welcome to connect with us. We are offering virtual appointments Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can access a ton of content on our website at careers.vcu.edu. Stay in touch with us via social. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at VCU Careers, and then our phone number is here as well in case you need to call for assistance with booking an appointment or you have a quick question, whatever it may be. So good luck with drafting your cover letter. Definitely encourage you to bring that by Career Services or schedule a virtual appointment so that we can talk about it. Myself or any of the other career advisors would be happy to review a draft of a cover letter and give you feedback on it. So good luck with writing that.